Hi friends, how are you today? My name is Lisbeth and I am not a makeup artist, although I am working on getting my makeup artist certification. I'm pretty excited about that. But for right now I'm completely self-taught and but I enjoy doing makeup. I enjoy playing with makeup, doing different looks and telling stories. So that's what I do. I do my makeup while I tell stories. It gives me something to do while I do my makeup. So today is Veterans Day. And happy Veterans Day. I know a lot of veterans. I have a lot of veterans in my family. Know a lot of veterans. Know a lot of people in the services still as well. So thank you all for your services, for your service. And what was I looking for? I was like, sorry, hold on. I forgot my mirror. I wasn't sure what I wanted to talk about today. I didn't know. So I was looking for inspiration, and I came across this article in Time magazine that said, like, people want to hear about the heroic stories and everything, but a lot of times that's not the stories vets want to tell, because I think for a lot of vets, they don't especially ones who have seen the really, really bad things, who have been in war and seen the horrible things that war can do. They don't, and I'm sure this is a case-by-case, person-by-person basis, but I feel like maybe a lot of them, they don't want to relive what they had, what they saw, what they went through. They want to tell you about the friends they had, what silly or insignificant maybe, but in like the grand scheme of things, but things that weren't insignificant for them. Maybe the more lighthearted moments that they had with their friends, or just stupid things that happened. Again, I feel like this probably goes person by person, but I feel like for a lot of vets, and it suggested you ask the vets in your life for maybe some of those stories instead of the war hero stories that maybe a lot of them just don't want to relive. Which I thought that was an awesome suggestion, but I'm not gonna, but I am gonna tell you today about a war hero. And funny story, I actually met this man, and I didn't know who he was or what he had done at the time. This was 11-ish years ago. He went to the same church as my family, and my mom actually found out later and told me later, I think, because I don't remember if we knew who he was when we met him, or during the time that we knew him. But anyway, and this man is Gail Halvorson. You might have heard of him it's called the Candy Bomber or Uncle Wiggly Wings. Or you might not have heard of him. I don't know. But anyway, so Gail Halvorson. I'll give you a little bit of background about him. Gail Seymour Halvorson was born October 10th, 1920. He just turned 100 years old. And he was born in Salt Lake City, Utah. And he grew up on small farms, but he says he grew up face down in the dirt, but he would always look at the airplanes flying overhead and want to be up there with them. So in 1941, he got his pilot's license. And in 1942, he joined the United States Army Air Corps. And the United States Army Air Forces in May of 1942. And he was 22 years old when he joined the pilots program in Miami, Oklahoma, and he trained with 25 other USAF pilots and 77 Royal Air Force pilots. And after he finished this program, he went back to the Air Force. And his role during the war was he was flying transport planes. Hold on. He was ferrying transport planes in England, Italy, and North Africa. And in 1948, he was called up to go to Germany to join Operation Vittles, or as it's known, the Berlin Airlift. And so Halvorsen had an interest in photography. And so on one of his days off, he was in Berlin. He was by Tempelhof, and he was videoing some planes. He was shooting some planes, videoing some planes, there we go. And he noticed that by the fence, there were some kids who were just kind of watching. And Halvorsen loved kids, and he would often have them following him around during his transport days, asking for candy. But he noticed that these Berlin children were more subdued, and they were just watching through the barbed wire as the airplanes would touch down. And as they were watching through the fence, they weren't begging for candy or anything, but all they asked was that the Americans not abandon the airlift when the weather turned bad, because they could go without food for a bit, but if we lose our freedom, we may never get it back. Sorry, that touched me right there. And it touched Halvorsen as well. And he dug in his pockets for a couple sticks of gum. And, hold on, sorry. And the kids took these sticks of gum and tore them into little pieces and shared them among themselves. And the ones who weren't able to have any gum that time sniffed the wrappers. And he promised the next day he would return with more candy. And the kids were like, well, how will we know it's your plane? And he told them that he would wiggle his wings as he approached. So the next day, he and he and his crew, hold on, sorry. Okay, and that night, Halverson and his co-pilot and his engineer, they pooled their candy resources. And then, but Halverson realized that the candy was pretty heavy, and he didn't want to, they pooled their rations for the next day's airdrop. But Halverson realized that the pooled candy together was pretty heavy, and he didn't want to hurt the kids. So what he did was he made parachutes out of handkerchiefs and tied them to the rations. And the next day, And the next day, in the morning when the crew made their regular drops, they also dropped 3 boxes of candy attached to handkerchiefs. And so the next morning when they were doing their regular drops, they also dropped the candy. And they were able to do this they made these drops once a week for 3 weeks. And each week the group of kids who was waiting at the Temple Hall fence grew significantly. Well, Halverson knew that this was against Air Force regulations. And when his colonel found out, he got an airful. The young pilot got an airful from him. But don't worry, it's not over. But the Berlin newspapers had already gotten news of what this young pilot was trying to do. And then Airlift Commander General William Tunner approved the continuation of Operation Little Vittles. So what began with a pilot's rations dropped by handkerchiefs, pilot's candy rations dropped in handkerchiefs, soon expanded to throughout the airlift, with 25 participants in his squadron alone. Which I think that is so cool. It might have just... Anyway, sorry. Which is just so amazing. I love it. And Halverson's home base got in on the act as well, with the commander declaring that any handkerchief seen would be requisitioned for this operation. um, and children and candy makers as the news reached the United States. Children and candy makers from all over started to get involved and started donating their candy. And by November of 1948, Halverson could no longer keep up with the amount of candy and handkerchiefs being sent from across America. And a college student, Mary E.C. Connors of Chicopee, Massachusetts, offered to take charge of the now national project and worked with the National Confectioners Association to prepare the candy and the handkerchiefs. Sorry, hold on. Sorry. And with all the support, the Little Vittles pilots, of which Halverson was now one of many, they were now able to drop these candy vittles, or they were able to make these candy drops now every day, I believe. Every other day. And children all over Berlin now had candy, and more and more artwork was getting sent back with kind little notes attached to him, and it was just... And Operation Little Vittles was in effect from September 22nd, 1948 to May 13th, 1949. Even though... And Lieutenant Halverson had returned back home in January of 1949. Sorry. He passed on the leadership of Operation Little Vittles to a friend of his, Captain Lawrence Caskey. Hold on. Sorry, I'm going through a couple of articles here. Oh, and by January 1949, when Halverson left, some 250,000 parachutes had been dropped. And sorry, I don't know why, but this story is getting to me a little bit today. Probably because it's a really good story. Like, I love it. I love that he did this. But, so over 250,000 parachutes had been dropped by the time he left. And this operation helped reassure these Berliners that the West would not abandon them. As one young Berliner later told Halverson it wasn't just chocolate, it was hope. Sorry. But I love that. He was able to give these kids this little bit of hope in a time where, let's be honest, there wasn't a lot of hope. It was a hard time. It was a war. There just wasn't a lot of hope. And just this little act. And yeah, to us, it's in these days, it wouldn't, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I'm not downplaying this at all, because it was an amazing thing that he did. It's just, I guess in these days, you can't really imagine how hopeless it was for these kids, for these families, for these people. Because I'm sure it wasn't just the kids that these candy drops gave hope to. It was families, it was parents, it was just adults. And so this seemingly insignificant thing that he did, just giving chocolate and candy to kids, that started this huge operation that gave hope to so many people. And I absolutely love it. And when Halverson went back home, he married his sweetheart. Oh, his operation with his involvement with Operation Little Vittles not only it won him international acclaim, but also drew him to proposals. Which he turned both of them down, hoping that the girl he had left behind in Utah would marry him. And hold on. And he had met Alta Jolie in 1942 at Utah State Agricultural College. And after he left Germany, the couple carried on their courtship through mail, and they married in Las Vegas, Nevada on April 16th, 1949. Sorry, all right, so what was I going to say? So they married on April 16th of 1949, and they had 5 children, All of whom were raised in various parts of the United States and Germany, as Halvorsen fulfilled his military assignments. What am I looking for? Oh, and back in Germany, or back in Berlin, Halvorsen had a school named after him. And he received the Cheney Award for his humanitarian work, and he also had an aircraft loader named in his honor. He also maintained his ties to Germany by attending anniversary commemorations or celebrations of the airlift and conducting commemorative candy drops. He also dropped candy over Kosovo during the time of conflict there in 1980. Hold on, I'm gonna pause while I do my eyes and lips, and then I'll be right back. All right, so Halvorsen had married his sweetheart Alta Jolly, and they raised 5 children together as she passed away in 1999. At the time, they had 24 grandchildren, and 5 years after she passed away, Halvorsen remarried, and he married this time his high school sweetheart, who's Lorraine Pace. And since Halvorsen retired as a colonel, hold on, let me double check, I'm pretty positive, yes, yep. He retired as a colonel, and since 1980, he has worked with one of the recipients of Operation Little Vittles on an airlift of understanding, that exchanges high school students from Berlin to Utah. And he has also written a memoir of his experiences called The Berlin Candy Bomber. I love this story. I think it is so cool, and just what he did and turned this up. I just started out a couple candy bars, a couple stickers of gum, and then a few candy bars, and then it turned into this huge operation that brought hope into so many people's lives. I love it. Love, 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 love. Anyway, so that's me done. For my lips, I used my awesome Mix Blend Bar, which I also love, love, love. I hope you guys enjoyed watching today, and I hope you enjoyed the story. And sorry, I was having a little trouble concentrating, trying to tell the story and make sure I knew all my facts, and doing my makeup. Well, wasn't the easiest video I've done, or transition I've done, but I loved it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And please remember to treat people with kindness and respect. Everyone has a story. We don't know what it is, so a little kindness, respect, peace, love, joy, all that good stuff makes the world a much better place. And please remember to thank those veterans in your life today, or ask them their story. And ask them some stories. And I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye!